Hey everyone, hope you're all doing great, Federico here. Today we're gonna check out the Enso drum library by a brand new company called RS Drums. A friend of mine told me I should check this library out, so I went on the website. The sample sounded sick, so here we are. First of all, RS Drums was founded by Rüdinger and Anup Sastry. You should know who these guys are if you're in the metal niche, but if you don't, go look them up because they're insanely talented musicians. And this is why my expectations for this library are actually very high. Enso is their first drum library. It's not a standalone application, it runs on Kontakt. You need Kontakt 6, and it's also available as a trigger instrument. So let's get right into it. This is how Enso sounds when you load it up in Kontakt with no additional processing. It sounds very punchy and dynamic, it's slightly processed but not too much, and it still maintains a very natural feel, especially if you pay close attention when dialing velocities. Let's take a listen again at this section right here. Now for this demo I rebalanced the drums within the Enso mixer and I just added some more overall body and room ambience. Now let me show you the library interface. This is the main view. As you can see, there's no overall drum kit view, there's individual shells and cymbals, and you can scroll through them with these arrows right here. You can select new shells and cymbals with this drop-down menu, which brings me to the huge selection of shells and cymbals they have for this library. So there's 22 snares, 13 kicks, and a bunch of tom sets. Some of them have even 5 or 6 toms, so that's actually a pretty huge selection. Also, there's 3 different options for each cymbal spot. So for example, there's 3 hi-hats, 3 left crashes, splashes, right crashes, chinas, and stacks. Now for each kit piece, down here you'll find the mixer controlling all the channels for that specific shell or cymbal. You'll have all the close mics, the overhead mics, and 3 different room mic pairs. Up here you have the pan knob, mute, solo, and polarity switch button, and with this arrow right here you can set the Kontakt output. So for example, you can set the output for all kick drum close mics to output 1, all the close mics for the snares to output 2, and so on for all the shells and cymbals, and maybe set the overhead mics for all kit pieces to output 10, let's say, and so on for rooms. So you can have individual outputs that you can control within your DAW. Here on the right you'll find the MIDI section where you can basically remap the whole drum kit and create new mapping presets. Next we have the group section where you can create custom groups. For example, I just created the room far group, and the way it works is basically you just have to select the channels you want to be featured in the group from the left column, and then you move them to the right column with this arrow right here. Of course you can also remove them this way with the other arrow. Then you have to make sure the group is selected, and you basically just have to select which parameters you want to link. So I selected them all, which means that if I go back here and solo the far room on the kick drum, it's going to be soloed in the linked channels as well, as you can see. Now let's go ahead and check out some of the samples. As I said, one of the best things in this library is the huge shell selection, and since it takes a while to load them all up because they're sampled with so many dynamics, I just printed them all down for you to compare more quickly. So let's start with the kick drums. You can see right here in the marker section the kick drum that was sampled for each section. Let's move on to the snares. As I said, there's 22 different snares, which is a lot. There's some very cool snares in here, and they kinda share the same character, which makes me think they use the same recording chain and microphones, but I mean, they all sound great, so that's cool. Now let's move on to the tom sets. As you can see, the Bubinga tom kit has 6 toms, these 3 have 5 toms, and the Per reference kit has 3. And again, this is the whole kit. One last thing before I move on to pros and cons, the MIDI you saw so far was programmed with my custom mapping, which is very similar to the general MIDI mapping. But this is the stock mapping that the Enso drum library comes with, and this is specific for this software. So that's not optimal for those of you who use multiple drum software and like to switch from one to the other. You'll have to create a custom map for that. But the good thing about that is that they sampled a ton of articulations. So for example, they even sampled the snare with the actual snares off, which is not very common in most drum libraries, so that's very nice. And they also sampled the rim shots of toms. And there's just a ton of articulations for hi-hats and cymbals. There's, for example, different choke lengths, which is, super cool. So yeah, there's pretty much everything you need here. Let's talk about pros. First of all, amazing shell selection. Like I said, it's really not common to find this many snares in a drum library. In fact, I can't really think of any that has this many. They do sound great, they don't sound overly processed, but they're still really punchy. They sound maybe a bit dry. I'd like to add some more reverb or ambience in a mix, generally speaking, but I think this could be perfect for more modern, dry-sounding, proggy and techy kind of stuff that needs drums to be in your face, but not like machine gun, cannon hit style sounding drums. Next, great dynamics. I think this kit can sound very natural if you pay close attention to the velocities, and all in all, if you like this style of dry, punchy drums, this is definitely one of the best libraries that does that, in my opinion. Now, here's a couple cons. Unfortunately, with this first release, mapping presets you create will be saved within that specific instance, but will not be available for recall if you load the Enso from scratch in a new session. Also, there's no mapping presets for other drum softwares yet. However, the guys at RS Drums already said they're gonna add mapping presets for other drum libraries, group presets, maybe the option to record your own custom maps, and they're gonna add these features to their upcoming libraries and possibly to this one as well with an update. So if you're watching this video after a few months from the upload, check out their website because this might be already taken care of. I'm actually looking forward to see how this company will evolve, and I can see their library is becoming one of the next go-tos for a lot of people actually. So I will definitely use this one in some of my next mixes. And yeah, that's it. So I hope this video was helpful to you guys. Please don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment, and I will see you next time. Take care.